AJ Fury. We were talking about a lot of other topics. I want to talk about one topic right now.
Yeah.
Riyadh season just recently. You and Oscar Dela Hoya.
Yeah.
Did you bury the hatchet?
Yeah, I think that I don't really mind Oscar's stuff. I think it's quite engaging. I just think there's so much business that we can do together. And I think it just sometimes takes a meeting between people to spend some time around someone to actually realise they're all right. And I look at Frank Warren, and I think I can't believe that we never spoke for 15 years.
What was that?
Because
was that your father or was it you?
Well, I was just my dad was rivals with Frank Warren, and when I came into the business, Frank did everything he could to say drive me out, but he made it very difficult for me. That's what he does. He's brilliant at that, and it was just we're never doing business together. Obviously, His Excellency brought us together, and he did the same really with Oscar. But then when I actually spent some time with Oscar, it was actually we can get on, and there's so many fights now. We talk about 5v5s. Now we talk because that is such an obvious thing for us to do. We've both got the same broadcaster in America. His Excellency wants to make these matchups. He's not really one for the beef, to be honest with you. He'd rather cut that out and just make good business.
Is Oscar one though, that you can do that in Riyadh and then maybe on Wednesday morning we wake up and he's gone nuts again?
Maybe, but he's also a smart guy, Oscar. He's a good businessman as well. He's not, and I think he realises that we don't have to be friend, but at the same time, you don't want to do something that's going to offset the opportunities for the fighters and the businesses. So I don't mind, he can say what he wants and stuff, but as long as we're active and we're talking, and I just think the opportunities for our fighters, and at the end of the day, Oscar's a big name. He has got a huge profile. He's one of the greatest fighters of all time. So I just feel and I think he's a good promoter. I think he's out there, he's creating narratives, but I just think together, it's probably, when I look at Matchroom and Queensbury now, it's such an obvious synergy that we should have done years ago. And now I just think with Matchroom and Golden Boy, same thing in America with the Zone. We spoke to Eric Gomez and we're all working. And those 5v5s, they don't have to be Boots Ortiz and Shakur. There is so much depth to the stables that you can make great 50-50 fights. And now we're seeing, we did one with Frank, we're going to do another one in May, and hopefully the 5v5 with Golden Boy will come in the summer, and then they'll continue. 5
versus 5, you've got Opataya, he's got Zerto Ramirez.
Yes.
Pending Wednesday night. Is that something on Thursday morning where you could ring Oscar and go, Oscar, let's make a unified
there might be a mandatory against Dorticus, but Zerto against Opataya is one of the best fights in the division. But like I said, we've got fights with Golden Boy at that level, and then we've got great prospects that can fight each other as well. So across the board, a lot of business to be done.
You talk about the 15-year break with you and Frank, or your father. PBC.
Yeah.
Is that getting closer, Eddie? Where do you see that?
That's another frustrating one. I think over the years we could have done so much business with PBC. The one good link is Louis de Cubas, because I'm pretty, I say close with him. We get on very well. We're able to pick up the phone at any time and try and make a fight. I do think that obviously now PBC have a huge roster of fighters they can't necessarily service in the current TV situation, so they're probably more likely to do deals with us. But I like the PBC, I like Louis, I think the Queensbury thing has shown me the potential opportunities for the business if we actually work together more. Same with Top Rank, and I've got a good relationship with Top Rank. We make a lot of fights with them, but we can all do more together. It's always been this mentality, and I'm at fault as well over the years of just I want to beat them, so we're not giving them, no, we're not accepting that offer because we don't like you. It's well, actually, what about if we accept that and then you do that with us, and then it can work.
You, Frank, Turkey, Benchlight, you guys are making a lot of fights happen. Do you just feel though the last year that PBC have been a bit more stagnant in trying to make fights happen, and it's catching up to Al Heyman and
I
his
just
team
think that
now?
with His Excellency, you have to swallow the pride a little bit and just like the way that I've always wanted to be the most powerful man in boxing. And I think I was or have been, or but there's levels, like I said up there, there's levels in life, and I'm not going to be able to compete with the cards that at the moment His Excellency wants to put on.
So you're a part, but hang on, you and your team are bringing people to
I'm
that.
Working for His Excellency, really. I'm humble enough to say it. Some people won't be prepared to say it or do it. Do you know what I mean?
Does Al need to do that now in this?
Well, he should be.
But
he's done. PBC have done fights with Riyadh season, but Al has always wanted to rather do it himself. Do you know what I mean? Like there's fights that we could have made that I think Al, like Bob will. You could slag Bob Aramov.
He'll ring you the next day.
Yeah, and to do a deal. Do you know what I mean?
Oscar?
Maybe, I don't Frank, maybe. Like Bob's probably the one actually that you could do, but some things that are said you can't go back on. But at the same time with Al, I just think he'd rather not do it than do it, And maybe it's time to change that. And, like I said, my relationship with Louis, hopefully, we like the PBC guys, they've got a great brand, and I just feel like sometimes it's the right opportunity for a fighter to do something different.
You've had him before, Canelo Alvarez, on some mega shows. Billy Joe Saunders, when we did that over there in Texas, a massive big show. He's got two fighters, Canelo and Gervonta, but can PBC hold the bargaining agreement up with the money that Gervonta and Canelo want now? Does that equal what you just said?
That's the difficulty, because now you look at fights like Gervonta against Roach.
Is it
I don't know what he's getting paid, but it doesn't generate the kind of money that Gervonta is used to or wants, right? So then it's like a situation where, what do? Al's not the kind to go back and, and same with Canelo, they're paying Canelo a fortune. Every time, it's balls on the chopping line stuff, and sooner or later it don't work, and you do 5 million on a night, and then you're fucked. And that's not the business we're in. So if you want to do that, that's fair enough. But the problem is, over the years, PBC have always stepped up to, it's like when I came in with the Zone, we were offering PBC fighters 3 or 4 times what they'd ever made. And Al would go, don't worry, I've got you. And then he would overpay them to match us or somewhere close, and he would do his money on that fight. Then you see inactivity creep in, and the PBC guys are only fighting once a year. But Al's got a very good way of keeping that loyalty with the fighter, and I think Al does care. I think he does care about the fighters, but it's a difficult business model. It really is.
Devin Haney has been very active on social media just recently. He's now a father. Congratulations to him and his partner. He's coming back to the ring. There's been rumours of him and Adrian Broner. There's been rumours about him and Tevin Farmer, BLK Prime. The last 3 fights that he's done, or the last 2 fights, you've been a part of that. Where do you see Devin at right now, and what do you...
Well, I think he needs to fight. I mean, he hasn't boxed since April. It's now January. He says he's coming back in March. It's nearly a year out of the ring. But look, the Ryan Garcia rematch is a huge fight. But at the same time, he needs a fight. He needs that confidence booster. Because Devin's not, Devin's a smart guy. I think he will have some demons that he needs to get out of his system. And I think before he goes into a Ryan Garcia fight, he should have that kind of fight. And maybe that's the one he's talking about in March.
Tevin Farmer, the right opponent, though, to come back to? I know the subpoena fight.
I think style-wise, it's not a great fight to watch. Tevin's very gifted. Good fight with Subida, but not dangerous. And I think the last thing Devin or Bill want at the moment is to go in with a puncher. You know what I mean? So maybe that's an option. They feel they can go him and get some rounds and outbox him. It's not an easy fight.
A lot of fights coming up shortly, and you're on another plane next week with some big fights. But I want to talk about Beterbiev, Bivol too, the rematch. Very close, the last fight. I mean, from an opinion point of view, I'm not going to give an opinion on you or ringside. You thought Bivol did enough to do. What does Bivol do in this second fight to be convincing?
Well, I think he has to close out the fight better. I mean, I thought that he won I watched it back. On the night, I thought he won 115, 113. I still scored it about that 1 or 2 rounds to Bivol. I was more pissed off that we didn't get a split, we didn't get a draw. Like, it was just unanimous, you know. And it's like, I don't see how everybody can see that fight. So, but Beterbiev did win 10, 11, 12, and that was a problem. And he's got to close out better. It's going to be another very tough, very dangerous fight, but I believe Dimitri will win.
There's lots of moving parts with Canelo, what we spoke about before with the PBC and Crawford. You think the Crawford fight's not going to happen. Beterbiev versus Canelo, is that a sort of a fight that you think that could happen in the future? I know Canelo has spoken about it before. Is that a fight that would
I don't think it's something that, I think Beterbiev's a big 175 pounder.
Too big?
Yeah, I think, the thing is with Bivol, he's not a big 175. Could probably make 168. But I think if he beats Beterbiev, Canelo would have the opportunity to rematch Bivol for undisputed at 175, and that's a carrot that he might like.
Liam Paro, just recently we did the show in Puerto Rico. I know there's some talks about Edgar Berlanga. I'll get to that shortly. But what's next for Liam Paro and his team and bouncing back?
It's interesting. I think, really he's a world champion that just lost his belt, so he wants to fight at world level. I'm going to meet up with Angelo shortly and see what might be next for him. I think he'll want to probably stay active. But what do you want to do? Do you want to come back with kind of like a gimme fight and then build into a big fight? Do you want to go straight back into a big fight? I think for Liam, getting some activity, going out there and getting a good win, and then moving into a bigger name and ultimately try and get that shot at a world title again.
His name's come up a lot the last couple of days. This George Kambosos announcement that Matchroom and Bivol, headlined by Matchroom, is going to announce hopefully shortly. What can you talk about the opponent for George Kambosos?
I think he'll just be a solid guy at 140. I think he needs to get ranked in the governing bodies. We want to make the Hitchens fight for George, which I think will be a big fight in New York. But he needs that first fight and a good fight at 140. So he needs an experienced opponent with decent pedigree and go and get a good win. Like I said, could be in Sydney. He hasn't boxed there for 8 years. So, looking forward to tying that up in the next few days.
Did it surprise you when Hitchens beat Liam Paro that the day later he was actually calling out George Kambosos?
Yeah.
Because we don't see champions for the first time. I know he called out Tito in the ring, respect to that, New York, and I think that's a great fight.
Yeah.
However, he did call out George Kambosos. Was that
I
unusual?
think George just presses everyone's buttons. And he's a great self-promoter. I think he's active all the time. He's winding people up. And Richardson just bit. But George has got a great name. He's got a great profile all around the world. And, maybe Richardson thinks, I can win that fight, and it's a good fight for my career. So it's definitely a fight we're looking at.
That's it.